RumCask. Today, Indy Anand is here with Guy Hodcroft, head spirits buyer at Master of Malt. And they're going to talk about exactly that, spirits buying, among other things, probably. So real quick, before we get started, I'm Will Hookinga from Zavvy.co. And before I turn things over to Indy and Guy, I wanted to give you guys kind of the lay of the land a little bit. So on your right, you'll see a chat box. We already see people saying hello, letting us know where they're tuning in from. Feel free to jump in and tell us where you're watching from. It's so cool to see people from all over the world coming in right now. Also, if you have a question at any point during the live stream, I know Indy and Guy are going to set aside a little bit of time near the end for Q&A. So feel free to pop that into the question box at the bottom of your screen. You'll see a little button that says Ask a Question. That's the best place to make sure we see it. I'm going to be keeping an eye on those and relaying them over to Indy and Guy. And lastly, invite your friends to join us. There's a share button at the top right. Click that. And yeah, let's see how many people we can get to join us for this. It's going to be awesome. So with all that said, Indy, I will turn things over to you now.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Will. Hey, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate you giving up your whatever time of day it is, wherever you are around the world. What are we going to talk about today? We're going to just talk about the ins and outs of being a spirit buyer. We're going to talk a little bit more specific on rum, and then maybe stuff about the current pandemic times as well and how that's affected. But let me introduce my guest, who really excited to have on. We've got a man who's worked in all areas of the wine and the spirit sector, bars, restaurants, independent retailers, department stores, different countries as well outside of the UK. We are based in the UK, if it wasn't clear from my accent. Started his buying career at Selfridges, I believe, and is currently the head spirits buyer at the multi-award-winning online retailer masterofmalt.com. And Guy, I believe you won the 2018 Drinks Spirits Buyer of the Year award. So really pleased to have you on. Guy Hodcroft. Guy, how are you doing?
I'm very well, sir. How are you?
I'm good. A little bit busy. Really pleased to be here with you. I'm sure you're definitely a busier man than I am. How's business going? How's life?
Good. Yeah, business is good. Life is probably the same as it is for everyone else globally at the moment. But yeah, business is very healthy. I think when there's when times are good, people reach for a bottle of something, and when times are bad, that's even more true. And obviously, it's Father's Day coming up here in the UK in 2 or 3 days' time, and that tends to be our sort of second busiest time of year outside of Christmas. So it's all hands to the pump at Mom Towers at the moment.
That makes sense. It does make sense, absolutely. If it was busy before the pandemic, it's going to be even busier now.
Yeah, absolutely.
For those who don't kind of know you, you've been a bit in the shadows recently. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of what your role entails at the moment?
Yes, so I'm the head spirits buyer for Master of Malt. In reality, that just means sort of head buyer. I not only look after spirits, but glassware and books and anything on the website, essentially. As you said, previous to that, I was at Selfridges for a number of years. So I worked in the buying team there alongside Dawn Davis, who some of you will know, who currently works for the Whiskey Exchange. And previous to that, I was in restaurants, both here and in Spain. I've worked in bars. You say I've done most things at some point. I ended up at Master of Malt about just a shade under 4 years ago, just shy of 4 years.
4 years, wow. That's quite a background in the spirits world, which is really cool. How did you did you come straight across from Selfridges into this role that you're in now, or did it kind of evolve as you joined?
No, I came more or less straight across. There's a bit of a change. So in my I was at Selfridges for 6 years, and in my last year there, I did sort of focus mainly on spirits. So sort of previous to that, I'd sort of split my time between wine and spirits, and then sort of changes at Selfridges at the time meant it made more sense for me to concentrate on spirits. So I did that for my sort of last year or so there. And then, Master of Malt were looking for a spirits buyer to help them out, which I interviewed for and got the job. And so at that time, there was a team of 2 of us. And then the other chap who involved, he left to one of the other areas of our business. So we have quite a complex business system. He still works for the overall company, but not with the Master of Malt. So then I kind of became by sort of by default head buyer.
Okay, that makes sense. And obviously you're a spirits man. I see you've been sipping something there. What are you what are you sipping?
I'm on the Samaroli bottling of Demerara Vertical 0304, bottle 2017, I think. So I'm just looking up at the bottle. Yeah, bottle 2017.
So definitely a rum man and definitely a spirits man.
Absolutely.
Glad to hear it. And you're not just putting on a show because you're with us at the moment.
No. Yeah, I mean, I could have picked anything, but I have picked delicious rum.
Fair enough. I'm just currently cocktailing it. It's a little early for me for Hitler's neat rum. I say that, not really true, but yeah. So when you go to sample a spirit, what are like the deciding factors? Like what makes a good spirit when you're going to sample it? Because obviously you look at a wide number of different spirits.
Balance is really key for me. Is it balanced? Is the alcohol in keeping with the flavor? Is the flavor too intense? Is there too much sugar in a liqueur or a rum in some cases? Is it too sweet? Is it too bitter? Does the alcohol stand out? But if everything is harmonious and as it should be, that's a good start. Does it do what it says on the tin? Is key. If it's claiming to be a pot still Jamaican rum, does it taste like a pot still Jamaican rum? If it doesn't, then something's gone wrong, and the customer might pick it up and buy it, take it home, and be really disappointed because it's not what it says on the label. So does it taste like it should? Yeah, so that, and if it's good, those are the two things I look for essentially.
So if it's balanced and if it's good, that's fair enough.
No. If it's balanced, balance always means good. Yeah, and if it does what it says it does, that's good.
I think that's fair. I think the balance thing is something that I guess would take years of experience to kind of understand all the different categories, understand the base flavors, and then know kind of where that balance is. That must have taken many years.
It has taken many years and will be taking the rest of my career. There's always something new to taste and something new to learn, and as production methods change and become more advanced or more sophisticated, then that can affect flavor. But yes, it's good, really useful that I've got a very good sort of base knowledge of pretty much most spirit categories you can think of, so I know what to look for. And through a lot of tasting, I've been able to develop my palate and my senses and say, okay, that is balanced, that's good, or actually no, that's not quite, the alcohol stands out a little bit there, or maybe that strong flavor of banana in this liqueur is a bit too intense or something like that. So it takes a long time, but it's it's not too arduous. There are worse ways to spend your 9 to 5.
I bet. We've got a couple of people in the chat who seem to be jealous of your Samaroli. I'm going to add myself to that. I am jealous of your Samaroli as well. Do you just sit around and drink all day?
That's probably the most common question I'm asked, actually. No, very rarely. Probably like most jobs, there's quite a lot of relatively mundane admin in the background. So I spend a lot of time on Google spreadsheets and calculators and all sorts of things that work out money. So I tend to taste. I probably do taste something every day, and I probably do sort of a big tasting session twice a week, something like that. So it's sort of diary dependent, and what's new sort of that week. But I'll try and sort of group things together. So if I can get 6 or 7 whiskies together, then I'll taste those all first thing in the morning, or 6 and 7 rums, or whatever it is. But sometimes you just get sent stuff and it's Tuesday afternoon. It's like, well, okay, don't have anything to compare it to, but I'll taste it. So yeah, I'd probably say 10% of my job is tasting stuff.
Just 10%. Okay. And do you have like a team around you to help you, a tasting team? Like maybe they cover for you on your day off, and any of those roles available? Can I help in the tasting?
Well, you can certainly help. There's not actually, no. it is just me who tastes and does all the buying side. There's a team of people around me who I work closely with, and whose palates I sort of trust and respect. And so, if there's something that I've not tasted, but someone who I know, can taste and can say, if something's good or not. If they've said I've tasted it, it's worth a look, then I'll sort of take it as read. There probably are some jobs available. You just have to do you have to do a big tasting exam first to get involved.
Sounds like a fun exam. I've definitely sat through exams and tasting exams, I can tell you that. So are there any other factors that come into play when you're looking at adding a product to the Master of Malt website, other than just the flavor profile itself?
Yeah, to a degree, sort of what's it for? What purpose does it serve? What gap in the market is it filling? Is a useful thing to have, and it's not. It isn't absolutely necessary. Because there are lots of Barbadian rums in the world, for example, and we're always happy to have one more. So but in terms of style or flavor or price point, does it fit anywhere? Is there a natural home for it? Is it servicing a need that no one else is? Right. That's a really good start, and that's usually a quite good indicator of if something will perform well. If there's nothing else in the market that does that job, that's a really good start. Does it? It does. It comes back to, does it taste good? Because I think even if there isn't necessarily a natural market for it, people like tasty spirits. And if they're tasty, and even if it's one more Barbadian rum in the world, if it's a good one, there will be a home for it. And then there's obviously commercial points. What does the manufacturer or the importer want to sell it out into the market, and therefore what cost is that to me? And do I make money on that? Do I think I'm going to sell it at that point? So if they want to sell it at £100 a bottle, and I taste it and go, you'll be lucky to get 20 for it. We aren't aligned at that point, and that's where you have to sort of go back and forth and do some price haggling and sort of negotiation on things. So what does it fit? Is it good? Is it priced sensibly? Those are the three main things I'd say.
The key thing. Yeah, that makes sense to me. So talking about, obviously nobody's perfect. What mistakes have you made as a buyer that you kind of go, this one sticks in my head, as kind of maybe you thought something was a winner for some reason and the product never sold, and you were just kind of left on a load of stock, or something that you just think, ooh, that was bad?
If I say loads, I'm going to look really bad, aren't I? But there are a few. I can't really name the people or the brands involved because they still exist.
Sure.
But there's the one that really sort of stands out and has kind of become something quite infamous at Master of Malt is I'm not, as a person, I am awful on popular culture. Okay. I'm really bad on films, music, what's on TV. I'm really bad. And there was a spirit that had a fairly big sort of celebrity tie-in, linked to a fairly popular TV show. And I'd never heard of this before in my life. And I said, oh, look at that. Yeah, fine. It tastes all right. The price looks fine. Yeah, we'll take a case of it, see what happens. Great. Didn't think too much more of it. And then I think it sold out within about 18 seconds or something on the website. And then the team said, oh, did you not know it's linked to this? And then sent me a load of links to X celebrity holding a bottle and it being on TV. I was like, okay, that's irritating. And a couple of other times, there's a few things I've bought where I bought big. I thought, this is great. This is really good liquid, and value for money is excellent, and people will love this. And people maybe liked it, but didn't love it. So yeah, it happens. It definitely happens. But fortunately, I can probably count those on the fingers of one hand. So that's probably why I'm still in a job.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice to know that we're all human.
Absolutely.
That actually brings on to a good question from Matthew we've had in the chat, who wants to know, like, your palate obviously is being refined and developed over years. Obviously, you must stock spirits that you don't enjoy. Is it hard to put yourself into the mindset of a beginner spirits drinker now that you're fairly the other end of the spectrum?
Yes and no. I think, I do remember what it was like starting out and not really knowing, what was what and trying things. I think, I think we've all probably done, made that same journey, especially in rum, for example, where, we may have started out with, styles that nowadays, a few years down the line, we wouldn't touch with a barge pole. But I think I'm quite lucky in the fact that I still remember what it was like to be, new and starting out and, and tasting liquid. And there are brilliantly, tasty, rums and other spirits that taste delicious. Would I want to drink them all the time? No, but are they good for someone who's, entering the category and, maybe hasn't been exposed to, other styles? Yeah, they're delicious. So I try and remember that, I'm someone who has more knowledge than most other people will need to have about spirits, and try and forget that, and say just is it good value for money? I'm also very lucky as well to sort of do a bit of judging for a few spirit competitions, and sort of one of the conversations you have with your fellow judges that are we going to put a bronze or a silver or a gold medal on this bottle? If a customer goes to their local supermarket, picks up that gold medal bottle, is it are they going to be happy? And that's, it's really useful to think in that way as well, because it does remind you that it all comes back to the customer is by far and away the most important person in all of these transactions. If they're not happy, none of us are in business.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great way to put it. The end consumer is king, and their money talks. And I think putting yourself in their shoes is a fantastic idea.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think I've said this sort of a number of times over the years, but I think if we only listed things on Master of Malt that I drank and I was fond of, it would be out of business pretty shortly. There's things that I find delicious which very few other people do. So yeah, you have to remember that there is a market out there and that needs to be serviced.
Absolutely. So talking about your palate, does the education ever kind of stop? Which I assume is no. So what do you kind of do to stay up to date with spirits?
No, you're right. It absolutely never stops. And there's so many ways of sort of educating yourself and learning. Probably the most enjoyable of those is going to a bar or something and tasting liquid you never had before. Go, oh, you've got this. Never seen that before. Yeah, one of those, please. Hopefully the bartender knows a little bit about it if it's on his bar, and you can speak to them. Or even just going back to old favorites. That sometimes that's how. I taste something that I've not tasted in years. I'll just sit there and go, actually, I've not checked in on brand X in 2 or 3 years. Is it still how I remember? And then you can go back to it. So I think tasting is always by far and away the best thing you can do. I'd always advocate, if you can, make a note of everything you taste. So okay, this is what I thought of it. And it's much easier to remember if you write stuff down. It's that old thing they used to say at school, I think, that if you write it down, you're more likely to remember it. So I think I've probably got about 100 notebooks that I've collected over the years of tasting notes and my very spidery, scrawly handwriting. So that's great. And then there's some more traditional thing, reading books. So there's never been a better time for spirits writers across all categories. So really, really good spirits books coming out, and most of those are fascinating, and you always learn something that you maybe didn't know, or it goes into more detail on an area that you were perhaps a little bit hazy on. And online as well, the amount of sort of bloggers and things there are nowadays, which even 5 years ago it wasn't so much a thing. So there's so much knowledge out there, and things like this as well. I've watched a few things here, a few seminars and things, and so education never stops, and I don't think it ever can.